do with what they do without asking them to recreate their wheel, but to do something unique, you know, that just for me. And they're most of the time thrilled to have that sort of collaboration. And this is a good example. I had a young client, now a friend, who he came in December when I first opened, and he was half undressed, trying on things like instantly and just going crazy. And he said, all right, I'm going to buy 2 things now. I'm a grad student. I can't buy everything I want, but I don't want you to think I'm like just giving you lip service, you know. So I'm going to take some things now, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to bring my father. My dad and I only shop at John Varvatos, and he's going to go nuts because your stuff is just as cool as John Varvatos.
In every place, too, my art really changed. I don't know if that's how it is for other people. In Providence, it was super free because it was that academic environment. In San Francisco, it was a little depressed because I didn't know a ton of people there, but also super bright colors. So I started these new techniques with the acrylic paint, vibrant animals. But they all had this expression of kind of, what am I doing here? Which is kind of how I felt like inside. My father passed away.
It was of beer, and I brought it back up onto the steps, and I was sipping it and hiding it. And while I was contemplating the misery of my failed love experiment, I saw these women coming who were giggling. And I looked, and then I looked to see where they were looking, and this guy with this mop of silvery white hair surrounded by all these people was walking toward them, and I recognized him as Andy Warhol. And the women were just making this huge big fuss.
Michael J. Fox comes through the crowd and says, excuse me, I know CPR. And I simply say, what's CPR? Because they didn't have CPR in 1959. And then he takes the sports almanac out of Biff's pocket and runs off. And then I say,
I think he took his wallet.
Let's go back to 1989, when I was 20-something years old. I got this part in this movie.
I had decided at 9 that that's what I was going to do. I was going to be, as I used to say, I was going to be the next Lola Falana. So that's where the dance came from, and then the singing and the acting. I used to practice all the time at home and go to dance classes all the time. You know, that's what's just kept me floating. I performed in some off-Broadway shows. One of them was called Young, Gifted, and Broke, which was really interesting. What else have we done? Brown Women Who Fly, Vampire and the Dentist, which is another interesting show. It's about a a vampire who had a cavity. And he went to the dentist basically to get work done. But when he went there, he met the receptionist and fell in love with the receptionist at the office. And he also owned a club called The Cave, and that's where all the cave dwellers and the dancing went on. It was a crazy, kooky kind of story. So I had this costume it was a bustier with a very long skirt with a train, and it had the split up the front. And when we were dancing and I was dancing with my partner, he accidentally stepped on it. So when he stepped on it, the costume said, shh. So I kept dancing until the number was over and I danced off stage. Because what else can you do?